Sipping martinis under the skyline, watching the leather walk on by. Feeling small, now I'm cutting ties, dreaming of the big sky. I don't know where we are going to, and who knows where we might have been. If I left you back in Brewtown, would your life be better spent? Chugging a micro in the thin air, wearing these Carhartts and fleece underwear, feeling tall on this little stage. You're missing your family, they're so far away. I don't know where we are going to, and who knows where we might have been. If I left you back in Brewtown.
Hi, I'm Rusto Brzezinski. I am a fly fishing guide and an outfitter. My company's name is Montana Dream Fishing Outfitters. I also co-host the Montana Dream Cast on iTunes and on Podbean. And then I write a blog called The Montana Dream on Blogger. What I've got going on today is it's the end of the 2018-2019 waterfowl season out here in Montana, and I have a bunch of GoPro videos that I've taken throughout the season. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting together a video of kind of a synopsis of what the season was like out here, just some of the highlights of it, and I'm posting it to our YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is the Montana Dream YouTube channel. So hopefully you guys get through the video. Hopefully it's entertaining, and you can see some great shots. At the end you'll probably see some pretty poor shooting, but you know, follow us, like us, give us some comments. We'd like to hear from you. What usually happens on the Missouri River is we need to get some cold and some snow and some wind to bring ducks to the river. I won't give up, God knows I am he, I am we got it all. So you kind of wait for that weather, and that weather didn't come until that first week of December. We actually got some snow and some cold and some wind, and I mean, fortunately I'm lucky enough to have the time and the opportunity to just jump in my truck and take off whenever that weather comes. So that first week in December when the snow came, we headed up to Craig and set up decoys, and in the process of setting up decoys saw some ducks kind of funneling into the channel behind us. So Cutter and I got up and we went over and jumped those ducks, and we wound up shooting a couple.
Good boy, drop. Good boy, Cutter. Good boy. Good boy. Come. Hey, good boy. Good boy.
On the way back, some of those ducks that we jumped, and then some others that had been circling around, actually landed in our decoys while we were gone. So we jumped those. Now, one of the coolest things in outdoor sports is watching ducks just cupped up landing in your decoys. To me, that is one of my favorite things. And redheads, bluebills, some of those diver ducks, when they come in, they just come in hard and fast, and it's so cool watching them cupped up. And we actually shot a couple redheads, which is not real common on the Missouri River.
Good boy, Cutter. Good boy. Bring it. All right, hold on, hold on. All right, touch it, touch it. Good boy, Cutter. Good boy. Hey, come here. Come. Drop it. Good boy. Good boy.
Now, when the weather comes in, it can certainly be a mixed bag of geese and like I said, redheads. There was a ringneck in there and a few mallards, and then of course there's always golden eyes. So that first snowstorm in December, that first week in December, it did bring some ducks and some geese to the river, to that upper stretch of the Missouri, and it was pretty good. Shot a few geese and some ducks, and overall, was pleased with it. Unfortunately, we didn't get weather again until the last couple days in December and first couple days in January. I took a good buddy of mine out on that first day after that next storm, thinking it was going to be really good, but unfortunately it was just dead calm, and without any winds, we just didn't have the birds. They didn't want to land, the few birds that we saw, and we wound up only shooting one ringneck that night. The next day, I wound up setting up in the channel behind us, and the wind was just howling. So those ducks didn't want to fly. And as you can see, there's 4 mallards that swam across the channel right into my decoys. And I'm not too proud. At that point, yeah, I ground pounded one of them, shot another one.
Tell everybody, baby, oh, how you put me down.
Look at the other one. Good job, good job.
Baby, I couldn't help
Right there. Get that one. Good boy. Good boy.
help it knowing you're so good looking, pretty baby.
Good boy.
But you love someone else. Good morning, little schoolgirl.
And when that wind is blowing and those ducks come in, they don't want to mess around. They just want to sit. And as you can see with these mallards, like when they set hard. This is kind of how duck hunting goes on the Missouri. That's why it's kind of hard to guide for ducks on the river, because you have to have the right conditions. The day before, we shot one ringneck, and then I went out the next day. It was windy, it was a little chilly, and there was snow on the fields, and I wound up shooting my limit. The last 2 ducks of the night was about 40 minutes before the end of shooting hours. I shot 2 ringnecks. Cutter was actually in the middle of a retrieve when a couple other ringnecks flew by, and kind of confused Cutter a little bit. Tell you what, without Cutter though, 1, it'd be kind of lonely out there, and 2, I wouldn't be able to retrieve probably half the ducks and geese that we actually get. It just kind of shows the importance of having a good dog, and if you don't have a good dog on the river, you wind up crippling some and not retrieving them, and it's kind of a bummer. So the weather got nice again. It's still really windy, but the snow was melting. The temperatures came up, and those ducks and geese, they just don't have to move until after shooting hours. So what you find are a ton of golden eyes, and golden eyes, I mean, I don't shoot them because I don't generally eat them, but man, like, they're just tempting me, right?
Took a walk in the morning sun, down a road I'd never gone, and in the grass it appeared to be a stone facing the world to see. I read the name inscribed in rock, and I wondered how the man had gone. Stone in the meadow, killing time. Stone.
And the thing about golden eyes is they're actually really beautiful birds. So I was looking to get one mounted anyway, as you can see that white with the dark iridescent colors to the head. They're really a cool looking bird. Unfortunately, like I said, they're not very good eating, and I guess my theory is the dumber the duck, the worse they taste. I did happen to get a few mallards to come in, and that was actually a pretty impressive shot right there. Those ducks were up there quite a ways, and Cutter made a great retrieve.
Good boy, Cutter. Good boy. Right here. Good boy. Come here.
So one of those birds was way out there.
Back.
There's a little island out
Good
there.
boy. Good boy.
You know, that's a good 80 yards.
Good boy, Cutter.
And I was able to send Cutter out, and he did his job. Cutter's a great retrieving duck dog.
Dream came to me. I make the most of what life can bring. I live my life by breaking stones that pave the road to where I go. And I'm a stone in the meadow, killing time. A stone in the meadow, killing time.
And of course, on those really nice nights like that, you know, the ducks and the geese, they're not flying during legal shooting hours. They tend to come about 10 minutes after legal shooting light, and it never fails.
What the hell's that all about, Cutter, huh?
So outside of that first week in January, the weather was just too nice for duck and goose hunting. So I actually was able to do some guiding for fly fishing anglers, which was great because you don't necessarily expect a paycheck in January. So it's a bonus. It's gravy. But I had a buddy that really wanted to shoot some birds, so we had to get creative. Now, none of the birds are going to hang out in that upper stretch because it's kind of turned into a shooting gallery in the last few years. So if there are places for them to go where the water is still open and there's food, they just won't come to that upper stretch. So you kind of got to get a little creative. So what John and I did is we did a cast and blast. We put the boat in, floated downriver, and fished our way in between seeing groups of geese and ducks, and we did some jump shooting, and we did some fishing. It was a lot of fun. There are just so many birds down on that lower stretch because they just don't get the pressure that they get on the upper stretch. So they hang out in the fields, they come back to the water throughout the day, and then back to the fields, and you just try to catch them in between spots. The ducks follow them. You'll see some mallards doing the same thing, and it can be a lot of fun.
Catch up, Cutter. Over here, over here, over here. Cutter, here. I thought I hit the water too, but Cutter, over here. Catch it up. Let's go. Let's see if we can do a drive-by. Come on, Cutter. Right here, right here. Cutter! Good boy, good boy. Load up, load up, load up. Cutter, load up over here. Good boy, good boy. Nice job, Cutter. Nice job.
I joke around with people a lot. Say, this time of the year, I'll say that the best camouflage to the ducks and geese is a fly rod, and it's true. So we spent time. You can see John's gun up in the front of the boat, and holding the rod. And as we're coming around this corner, there's a bunch of geese. There's some of them in the water, and then some of them up on a grassy bank. And we decided to park and kind of walk along this cut bank, try to get close to these geese.
I see a world turning upside down. Just see me, be running to you. I see a love falling worlds apart. To be here, be calling.
Now it's hard to tell with this bend. You can see the geese starting to get up. They're actually getting up off the water. And then there's a low spot where it's below high water mark that these ducks or these geese are all getting up out of.
Good boy. Hey, bring it here. Good boy. Fetch it up. Fetch it up. Get the next one, Cutter. Cutter, over here. Go get him, Cutter. Fetch him up.
Fetch him up, Cutter. Help him, Cutter.
Good boy, Cutter. Come on. Over here. Good boy. Drop it. Drop it. All right. Fetch it up. Fetch it up. Nope. Fetch it up, Cutter. There's another one.
up over top front 40 as we jump in 4 feet without warning to the Cocoa Lake and a feet that I'm falling.
And like I said, the fishing is actually pretty solid in January when the weather's right and the fish are happy. You can get some really great fish this time of the year on the Missouri. All right, so what happens is there's a little bit of break. We have like a 5-day period where the season shuts down, and then it reopens. We did the cast and blast the last weekend that the season was open, and then we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The season closes on a Wednesday. There's not a lot of people out on the river at that point, and I did try to hunt the upper stretch near Craig, Montana, but it was just non-existent. The birds came in late, and there weren't a lot of them. So I decided I was by myself, and I didn't want to float 9.5 miles of river by myself, so I decided to pull the meat wagon out. I put the 13-foot fishing boat in with a 9 horsepower motor, and just kind of tooled down to the first set of islands where I knew there was a bunch of birds. As you can see, it wasn't like the weather. It's not that the weather wasn't cold at night. It certainly was. You can see as I'm backing in, there's plenty of ice. Now, other people have hunted down here. It's not like this is some huge secret. It's just not nearly as accessible. The people that are hunting down here, what I would say is that pick up your stuff, man. Like, this is ridiculous. Picking up all these shells after people. I'm not sure why people don't see shotgun shells as litter, but it is. And the other thing is, finding dead mergansers and dead golden eyes on the island, that just kind of gives duck hunters a bad name.
Don't let him go. Good boy, Cutter. Good boy. No, cut.
So that last night was, like I said, it was really good. I had plenty of opportunities, and I should have easily limited out on geese. I didn't. It's not on the footage here, but I had 2 geese actually swim into my decoys, and I thought they were going to the other side of the island, so I made the mistake of moving, and then I didn't get a really good shot at them. I had other opportunities of geese flying by and ducks, and I would say that if I had done better shooting that last night, I would have limited out on ducks and geese.
Good boy, Cutter. Good boy.
She walks in
Good boy, Cutter.
and
Good boy. Good boy.
She opened my heart, she entered my dreams. She says, "What does free?" Yeah.
You really got to watch the ducks and geese that you're shooting. Sometimes it looks like you hit them, and then you think, well, shoot, I didn't hit them well enough, and then they wind up traveling for a little ways. They're wounded. You might have got a BB in their lungs, and they can go quite a long ways. This particular goose went at least a quarter mile, and fortunately was swimming or flying upstream,
Good boy.
and then
Hey. Good
took
boy.
a digger, landed out in the middle of the river, and I watched it, and we were able to retrieve it as it floated by.
Good boy, Cutter. Right. Good boy, Cutter. Good boy.
She walks in, she lays her head on my sheets. It's a dream I've had for so long now. Can it be real? Oh no, no. All alone, my pain grows as I shed a tear. It's 2 a.m. I remember the sand, the wind in her eyes. And oh no, after she told me so, how could she go? I don't believe she'd go. Oh no, after she told me so,
Good boy.
how could
Bring
she
me. Good boy.
go? How could she go?
Once again, picking up decoys and gear. That's when you're gonna have some of your best shots, at least best birds coming in. Never fails. One thing I'll say about the Missouri River, though, if you spend any time on it, you know, these evenings where the sun's setting and you're kind of by yourself, it's quiet out there, it's pretty cool.
2 a.m. I remember the sand, the wind in her eyes. And oh no, after she told me so, how could she go? How could she go? I say, oh no, after she told me so, how could she go? I don't believe she'd go. Oh no, after she told me so, how could she go? How could she go? I say, oh no, after she told me so, how could she go? I don't believe she'd go. Oh no, I don't go.
All right, Cutter. Go ahead.
So once again, I just want to thank you guys for watching the video. Let me know what you think. Follow me on YouTube. It's the Montana Dream YouTube channel. You can also read the blog, the Montana Dream on Blogger, and take us with you when you're on your own road trips. The Montana Dream Cast on Podbean, and you can get that on iTunes too, as well as many other podcast hosting sites. And on any of those sites, you know, if you want to get in contact with me, leave me a comment there, or you can go to mdfishingoutfitters.com. That's mdfishingoutfitters.com, and you can email me from there. I'd love to hear from you guys, and if you want to book the trip of your lifetime, Montana Dream Fishing Outfitters, be happy to set you up, and hopefully we'll see you on the river. You know, I'm just as much what you see on the video, you see a lot of really good shots, but it doesn't always work out that way.
Cutter, no bird. Come. God damn. Cutter, no bird. Sure, what the hell. Oh, you mother! No bird, Cutter. Cutter, no bird.
We're chugging a micro in the thin air. We're wearing these Carhartts and fleece underwear. Feeling tall on this little stage. You're missing your family, they're so far away. I don't know where we are going to, and who knows